Good day and welcome to our 10-minute video series. My name is Mary Jane Rodriguez and I'm doing this for Ultimate Access. Our video today covers the SEMA Management Case Study Exam that is for the May 2018 session. Our pre-scene company is a company called Mendte. Our topic for today covers an E2 syllabus topic, Topic B Part 1. In this topic, we are going to discuss concepts associated with managing through people. Part A, discuss the concepts of leadership and management, and Part B discusses HRM approaches for managing and controlling individuals' performance. A little bit more background E2 knowledge. Some of the focus is on discipline, health and safety, grievances, and fairness. If the employee is misbehaving at the workplace, discipline is something that a company can do to the employee to ensure that the employee changes their behavior or his behavior and goes on the right path. Health and safety, it's to provide and maintain a safe and risk-free work environment. Health and safety is both the responsibility of the employer as well as the employee. If there are issues that employees want to highlight to higher management, then grievance is something that they can use to highlight the problems or the issues. Fairness. This is to ensure that the organization acts in a fair and non-discriminatory manner. Fairness is something that a company should uphold in all its dealings with employees as well as possible applicants or any kind of stakeholders to the business. We're now going to look at the pre-scene and what the pre-scene tells us, and so why is this topic so important for Mendte? In the pre-scene on page 5, it talks about Mendte growing. And by 1990, Mendte had 11 intercity routes and 7 local bus companies, with a fleet of over 450 vehicles and 2,500 staff. And you'll find there that I've highlighted 2,500 staff. This is only by 1990. We are now in the millennium, and so this number must have grown for Mendte. They might be over the 3,000 mark by now. Mendte is a big people company. Page 6 talks about growth across all Mente's operations by providing safe, reliable, customer-centered transport services. This may mean health and safety for the public, health and safety of its employees. When it talks about customer-centered, would mean that employees are customer-facing because Mendte is in the customer service industry as well. Page 9 of the pre-scene talks about Mendte having bus drivers that need special licenses to drive the buses. All countries have this law, and that the drivers need to have these licenses. These licenses are granted after a driver has completed training, has passed both written and practical tests. There's a detailed background checks on criminal conviction. So it's a very special kind of license, and as such then the drivers that we are looking for are skilled drivers. They need to be at a certain level. They need to have the experience, and they need to hold this license. We are able to employ trainee drivers so that they become qualified drivers at a later stage. We train them. Trainee drivers are mentioned here where they practice their skills on public roads, but they need 2 qualified bus drivers to go with them on the trip, as well as they cannot carry any passengers on board. Page 15 of the pre-scene also talks about staff being the largest element of operational costs for Mendte. This is the biggest expense that Mendte has in its books, which would mean that people drive the Mendte operations. So dealing with the people, how we manage the people within our work environment is very important for Mendte. As with all our 10-minute video series, We have our question up ahead. The Director of Operations has emailed you the following. Your supervisor is currently unavailable and I was wondering if you could help me with something. I recently visited one of our bus depots and found something alarming. I caught a trainee driver coming back from practice with only one qualified bus driver on board the bus. While nothing bad had happened during their trip, I warned the depot manager and the drivers that this is not acceptable behavior and the policies are there to keep the public and the drivers safe. I then learned from the depot manager that this is common practice across all our bus depots so that they could save time and money since they do not have to pay for 2 qualified drivers when one will do. I am now concerned that this is rampant in all our depots. I believe the fault lies solely on the depot manager since he manages the depot and should know what goes on in there. I think we should discipline managers if we find this bad practice exists at their depot. Please recommend a disciplinary procedure that we may follow against a manager who allows these reckless behavior to happen. As with any question, I would suggest students to write an answer plan beforehand, pick out the text of the requirement, you build your response around that requirement, you write down maybe 5 to 6 points for each of the requirement, and you list down keywords or theories that you may want to use for your answer. And here's a sample of my answer plan. I'm going to start off with introducing the importance of the policy with regards to safety, public safety, driver safety. I would talk about the implications if the policy is not followed and if something bad were to happen. I would look at disciplinary procedure implementation or policy implementation, whose responsibilities are what. I would then talk about investigation at the depots, find out the details, who is at fault. Then I'd look at the penalty for the offense. What kind of penalties are we looking at if we find that certain people are really doing this bad practice? And then in the end, I'm going to offer up a long-term solution, perhaps better training for managers or drivers with regards to policies. And here's my answer. Trainee drivers are not allowed to drive on public roads alone. They are also not allowed to carry passengers while they are practicing. When practicing, trainee drivers need to be accompanied by 2 qualified bus drivers on the trip. This is for public and driver safety on the roads. I believe this policy is not only a company-wide policy, but one that is upheld in Centralia. By not following this policy or rule, Mendte is breaking the law. It has not affected Mendte in any way at the moment because nothing bad has happened yet. But should Mendte wait for bad things to happen before doing something about it? No. Aside from breaking the law, which should already be a deterrent to such activity, Mendte will also suffer reputational damage if news about this broke out. The public may view Mendte to be uncaring about safety and may not support its business any longer. The procedures to be implemented needs to be applied within the context where the depot manager is somehow responsible. The drivers are the ones breaking the law. The qualified drivers could also be held responsible since they knew about the policy, but proceeded to practice with the trainee driver anyway. Each incident should be investigated individually. It should also be determined whether the depot manager knew about the practice happening and allowed it to happen for the sake of saving one's salary instead of thinking about the health and well-being of his drivers. The managers should be given a chance to state their cases too. The investigation should be designed so that it is clear about details. The disciplinary process will be more effective if it is seen to be fair and transparent. If Mendte does not give those subject to the process an opportunity to defend themselves, then there are risks that the process will be seen as unjust and resentment will arise. Any penalty should be reasonable and proportionate to the offense. If the incident arose because of willful neglect, then it may be necessary to dismiss the manager. If there are some mitigating factors, then it may be appropriate to reprimand or impose a short period of suspension to send the right message across. In the long run, it may be a good idea to retrain managers and drivers alike on the rules and policies that company upholds. This will ensure that the employees are clear as to their responsibilities and what fate may befall them should they choose not to abide by them. And that is it for me today. I hope you enjoyed this video about discipline, and I hope this helps you in your preparation for your management case study exam coming up in May. Good luck for your preparation.